So someone's listening to this whole thing, they've heard you make comments on a lot of things, and they're saying, I don't know, my mom's 83, and I had a grandmother who lived to 91, and I don't know, I think these people are overreacting. So what's different about the chemical industry today than 50 years ago that's making you say that the results that their grandmother or mother got, who's in their 80s and 90s, might not be the same thing we should expect if we're in our 20s, because it's, in other words, what's different about the world and the chemical industry that makes us feel that the same results that our grandmother got might not be in store for us?
Well, I think what's happened is, over this period of time, we've got further and further away from nature, nature's methodology. Going back to the presentation we heard this afternoon, what an incredible thing soil is. Incredible. All the interplay, the incredible interplay between all these different, I can't even remember what they were, but the incredible interplay. And if you're a biochemist and you start looking at the metabolic pathways, it's staggering how nature controls everything, all the feedback mechanisms and so on. They're really staggering. Like there's 10,000 chemical reactions going in on our body. They are switched on and off, but it's done in such an incredibly synchronized manner that we maintain a steady temperature, even though you're getting reactions, liberating, absorbing heat. Nature is fantastic. Nature has brought us to this point after millions of years of experimentation. We, after a couple of hundred years, absolute pygmies in understanding chemistry, are changing the DNA. You've never seen a mouse make love to a strawberry, but that's what Monsanto is enabling this to happen. And changing the nucleus. I mean, we are so arrogant as a species, but it's all because people can make money out of this. And all the time we have greedy corporations. We're going to be the victims of this. But where we can simplify, trust nature, simplify. And you can start by growing your own food, composting, etc. That's the simplest place to start. In fact, I would recommend any teacher watching this, first lesson, the first time the child comes into the class after they've learned to brush their teeth properly, is give them a seed and let them plant that seed. They don't even know what it is. Let them plant that seed. Let that seed grow and nurture it. That is the best place to start education. But the respect for nature. I'll tell you a funny story. I was traveling in Pennsylvania. I went to a restaurant. On the menu, fish and chips. Grown up in England, love fish and chips. And I said to the waitress, I said, what kind of fish is it? And she said, she looked a bit puzzled. She says, you know, triangular. And it was. But this waitress was completely disconnected to the idea of a fish.
I think one of the problems is, obviously, compared to the grandmother situation, we have more people, we have infinitely more chemicals, infinitely more uses for those chemicals as we, change from a work-style life to a leisure life, so that and we've got more variety of these chemicals, and as a result, there's bound to be some problems. We already know there are problems. We know now that a lot of these chemicals cause cancer, cause Hodgkin's disease, et cetera, et cetera. And then we learn that they have impacts, that there are impacts that are going on that didn't exist when your grandmother was around, like soil loss. 75,000 tons in British tons, or million tons, British tons of loss a year of soil because we're putting chemicals on them and they're losing their structure.
Yes.
So it's all of this stuff adds up and adds up. And once you start getting sick and you live sick and then you breed sick, we're killing ourselves off. And by going back to nature, I think you're right. We at least let something that has been able to sustain life for how many millions of years take over again, instead of a bunch of people who have 6th grade science education requirements imposed on them running our lives. It's that simple.
Now, assume,
Mother or, you know, it's the bad guys.
This only started about 170 years ago in your old country,
Yeah.
when the Industrial Revolution started. And back then, they were creating approximately 10 to 15 chemicals a year. By the year 1978, we've consistently, on an average, created 2,000 brand new chemicals every year. So this year, 2,000 chemicals will be created in laboratories, mostly at universities, that literally have never existed before. Now, when they enter into the ecosystem, the environment, the water, the air, the land, the soil, your food chain, etc., they multiply those thousands and thousands of chemicals and become millions, if not tens of millions, if not billions of different chemicals. Nobody knows what they are. You take the most brilliant chemist in the world, she or he cannot possibly, in 25 million lifetimes, figure out what we've created through the mutation of chemicalization.